All right, so here's a build that you can use to farm this week's weekly Grandmaster, which is Hypernet Current. It is Stasis and Solar Surging. Let's check it out right here, as well as grenade launchers. So all grenade launchers get a 25% damage buff, all solar weapons, all stasis weapons, all damage types that are stasis or solar. So the stasis or solar subclasses are good for damage. All overcharged weapons get a 25% damage as well, which includes any champion weapons from the artifact. So if you're using a barrier, regardless of the element, you can use a arc sidearm and still have a 25% damage buff. Same goes for rocket launchers. As long as you have these selected in your artifact, then these types of weapons get a 25% damage buff, right? It's not just for taking care of champions, it is a surge. You're overcharging the weapons by selecting them. So in this case, I've got overload rocket launchers, and I've got a surging grenade launcher, and I've got two void weapons for my special and my heavy. This is just to be efficient with my surge mods and damage types. So void weapon surge is going to apply to both weapons. Stasis weapon surge is going to apply to Wicked Implement. A little bit more about Wicked Implement here. It is basically the Polaris Lance of Stasis. It's a little bit more nuanced. It's not nearly as popular this season as Polaris Lance, just because Solar is universally probably a better class, and it's definitely more used. I think Stasis is the least used subclass in the game. But if you have Wicked Implement and you have the Catalyst, it takes care of all overloads, all unstoppables, and if you pair it with Cadmus Ridge Lance Cap, you can produce diamond lances at your feet to throw at the enemy to shatter them and do even more damage, all while sitting behind a rally barricade. So they're very synergistic together. And then with the seasonal artifact this season with Hail the Storm, Pillar of Ice, Dragon's Bite, even Torch in some applications, you'll be doing a lot more damage to enemies affected by stasis. I'm using Argent Ordnance for my Braytech Osprey. High impact rocket launchers got a buff on this weekly reset. So now we get 2 more reserves at base, so this thing carries 12 rockets without any reserve mods, which is pretty nutty. In this run, we actually had a Cenotaph with a well and a Gallahorn, so I had plenty of ammo and Wolfpack rounds from Gallahorn. So this thing was slaying out. I do have Envious here as well, so it's up to you. But I prefer a bipod rocket launcher. High impacts, not just they got the reserve bump, but now they're basically going to be meta for ad clear type of encounters, nightfalls, stuff like that. Precision rocket launchers as well are going to be up there, and aggressives and adaptives are kind of going to be more reserved for dungeon and raid bosses. But yes, this is very good. I like auto-loading holster because it's reliable, it's consistent. You pull your rocket launcher out, shoot a couple shots, stow it, and then 2 seconds later you've got 2 more rockets ready to go. Envious Assassin takes a bit of work. You don't necessarily know how many rockets you have in the mag. It doesn't reliably auto reload unless you are actively getting kills with other weapons. So Envious I prefer more for total mag dumps versus dungeon and raid bosses. Auto loading is just super good for utility and just general gameplay. Same goes for Wilderflight here. This is what Wild Style should have been. So if you're farming for a Wild Style, you're not going to get the Wilderflight version, which is to have ideally disorienting grenades if you're using it for utility. You can use it sparingly for damage because double fire frames do the most amount of damage out of any special grenade launcher on impact because it has the 2 grenades. This one has Vorpal, so it does 15% more damage to bosses and mini bosses, champions, etc. But with any blinding GL, auto-loading holster is just kind of the best. Unfortunately, Wild Style doesn't drop with that, and it doesn't have. It only has 1 damage perk, which is Surrounded. So you can do Envious and Surrounded and kind of have a pseudo version of this, but it's not going to be as reliable for your utility. But it'll be especially good for doing mag dumps on dungeon and raid bosses, because you can probably stack up to 3 grenades in this thing with Envious, and then if you're Surrounded, you get that 40 or 45% damage buff. So yeah, you could definitely throw it into a damage rotation. That's what I'm farming for, an Envious Surrounded, and I might hold on to an Incandescent. I just highly doubt that I would ever use this thing for ad clear. But yeah, pretty cool grenade launcher. It's basically just Wilderflight. It's got the same wood paneling as the Spire of the Watcher version, just with a bunch of graffiti on it. And it's solar, so I mean, you could synergize with solar builds with it. But yeah, so you're going to see the gameplay here with Wilderflight, Braytech Osprey, Wicked Implement. The aspects that I'm using here to enhance the whole Wicked Implement Cadmus Ridge Lance Cap synergy here is Diamond Lance, right? Because Cadmus Ridge Lance Cap enhances our Diamond Lances. Any lances that we throw turn into stasis crystals, which basically makes them mini grenades. Crystals are very valuable to us. Tectonic Harvest, we're getting shards out of crystals. Shards also build into Wicked Implement, because Wicked Implement overflows the mag on stasis shard pickup. So even though Wicked Implement does produce stasis shards for us, we're getting additional shards, right? So may as well fully build into shards and lances. Whisper Chains for basically like woven mail while you're standing near stasis crystals. Whisper Shards to get a 500%, I believe, grenade energy regen rate after destroying a stasis crystal for about 5 or 6 seconds. So as long as you're breaking crystals every few seconds, you're always going to have insane grenade uptime. Whisper of Fissures to increase the overall shatter damage, which is further enhanced by the seasonal artifact with the stasis mods in there. So you're getting a ton of damage from shatter. Whisper of Rending for 40% extra damage on Wicked Implement when hitting frozen targets, right? So this is a very good fragment for primary weapon damage, especially if you're using an exotic primary as your bread and butter. You're just going to be slaying out. Whisper of Rhyme, so that when we do pick up those stasis shards, we get the additional benefit of not just overflowing our magazine and getting melee energy, of course, from stasis shards, but we're going to get health and overshields. And this is going to allow me to forego things like recuperation and better already on my boots. Just with Whisper of Rhyme alone, I find it's enough healing that you can forego that. And so further to that note, with stasis shards, I'm overflowing Wicked Implement, getting melee energy, obviously, getting health, getting overshields, but I'm using elemental charge as well, so it's actually giving me armor charge. And because I can produce stasis shards so easily from Wicked Implement kills, from just breaking crystals around me, the playstyle I'm using here is basically get crystals near me so I get my damage resist, so I can harvest shards from the crystals, get my armor charge that way, kind of like the old way of harvesting charge with light and Font of Might from your own crystals. So you can still do that, and then that way I get a damage buff to Wicked Implement of 10%, and I get a void damage buff to my special and my heavy, right? So that's pretty much the build. For damage resist mods here, Concussive, Arc, Solar, you can throw in Void there too, but I would definitely keep on Arc and probably Concussive. Font of Restoration, this is so I can just get triple 100s, have 100 recovery. Stasis as a subclass isn't necessarily the most survivable without the help of like Whisper of Rhyme and combat moods on your boots like Recuperation and Better Already. But like I said, I wanted to forgo those for Surge mods and Elemental Charge. So Font of Restoration is just going to have me at 100 recovery basically all the time. Bolstering Detonation and Bomber are just, even though these mods, basically all the mods that give you chunk ability have been heavily nerfed, but Bolstering Detonation and Bomber synergize together, especially with the gameplay style that I'm using here, which is to put down a barricade, play at range, shoot Wicked Implement, make crystals, get shards, slay out, right? So I use my barricade, I get grenade energy. I throw my grenade, I get barricade energy. That's basically the concept there. So gameplays to follow. Hopefully that covers everything. If you like the build, let me know. I'm not going to do commentary on the gameplay. I think I had one death in the boss room, but generally this was a pretty good game. And we all got our adept grenade launchers. Unfortunately, as you can see here, I have nothing good. I don't even have a single roll with disorienting grenades, which is kind of a bummer. So I'm going to have to farm this week, and this is a build that you can use to farm it. Sure, you can go solar, you can go any class, but you may as well have some fun. Wall stasis is in the artifact, and it's pretty good if you're playing into it properly. You know, it takes a little bit of practice. It took me a few runs to get a decent run like this. I was pretty bummed that I had that death in the boss room there, but it happens. If you're in a fire team farming, you know, it's not the end of the world. So enjoy the gameplay. I'll see you next time.
Guardian, my forces report that Shadow Legion units are shifting their attention to the Cloud Arc. That's likely why Behemoth's defense systems are reading offline, but I bet those Vex pumps are also poking too close to the city's internals.
Taken Blight? The Shadow Legion are forcing Taken into that Vex pocket.
The VexNet uses similar gateways as the Cloud Arc, which means they could infiltrate the network and gain access to the Veil.
Taken are relentless, especially under the Witness's control. We need to get in there and stop them. follow those taken and remove them from the system.
Hey, Guardian? I'm not sure just how much damage these taken can do, but hopefully we can beat them to the punch. The Cloud Arc is built on the energy field produced by the Veil. It's resilient, but not impenetrable. A backdoor wouldn't be impossible. Maybe getting rid of whatever is at the center of this will also help our Vex problem. Maybe.
Got to be a way to destroy these blights. We can't let more of them form. This is the access point. Let's get rid of that Taken before it opens a path into the Cloud Arc. guarding the town.